Hello. Today on RDG Tool Quick Tips, we're going to go over the linked views tool. Now, the point of this tool is when you have a project that is large with multiple models, it can be very challenging sometimes to share details between different models when it's the same detail. So the idea here is if you have a site model or a details model, that model is where you could create the content or the details that would be your typicals across the entire project. So they may be flooring details or ceiling details, wall details, but the idea would be that they can be used across multiple different linked models if you have that situation or project that you're working on. So, and this is just a small test file here that we're going to use, but the idea is that I have this ceiling plan with this wall that's supposed to. So you can see here in plan, obviously on the right, and then we have section here. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to do a detail of what this condition looks like right here, but I don't currently have that detail in this project. But what I do have is I have it in another file that happens to be linked in. So what you can do is if you have that linked file, which would maybe be like a site file or a master file for your project, what you're going to want to do is you want to go up to RDG Tools, and you're going to find the linked views drop down here on the copy and save panel. The first thing we want to do is we want to just hit on linked views. When we click on that, it's going to bring up this dialog, and in this dialog, it's going to ask you to select a linked model. So here we are going to select the file that's linked. We only have one in this case. So I'm going to select that file. Now, when I select that, what it does is it goes, it looks at that link and it sees every view that is in that project that is on a sheet. So basically every viewport. So you'll see here that it tells you the type of view that it is, like a drafting view. It tells you what the detail number is and what the sheet that it currently sits on is. Now, the idea here is that you would want to make sure this sheet and this detail number do not exist inside of your project. The sheet number may be okay, but the detail definitely can't be, because we're actually going to create a view. We're going to create a sheet or check for a sheet. We're going to create a view. We're going to place that view, and we're going to make sure that view is in the same location and has the same detail number as the one inside the link has. So we got to make sure that if we're going to pick, if we come down here, and let's say we hit, what do I want to do? I just want to say bulkhead, let's say, and then APC on both sides. So, and then we'll just, actually, we'll just do typical bulkhead APC on both sides. So you'll see that this is on detail D5 of A1407. Now that's obviously sheet 1407 in the linked file, not in the file that you're currently in. But it's going to use that information to place that view. So we pick the detail that we want. Now what we want to make sure we do is we come back up here before we hit OK, and we pick a title block. Since it could possibly be creating a sheet inside of our model for us so that we can actually use a true call out, then we want to pick what title block we want it to use. So in this case, I'm just going to do our standard 30 by 42. And then from a viewport perspective, it's not as critical to pick one, but in this case, I'm just going to pick the one that has no reference, but it has a title and a scale. So we use the linked model to pick the view that we want. We selected a title block for it to use if it needs to create a new sheet. And it will only create a new sheet if this sheet A1407 does not exist in the current model. And then we picked a viewport type. So now we'll hit OK. And what you'll see now is if we go down over here and we drop into the sheets under architectural, we'll have this A1407 sheet, and see how the sheet name is do not print, because we don't want to print this sheet from this model. And that's why it's kind of important to make sure that you don't have matching sheet numbers inside of this model that you're trying to use on the index. So it'll say do not print. it automatically deselects the appears in sheet list because it's already duplicated in the other file. So you don't want to have it in the same thing. So we don't want to have it show up in the sheet list. It says do not print. And if we open this sheet, you'll see that this view has been placed on that sheet that we just made. And it says reference view do not print, reference view do not print. So this is actually a drafting view that it created. It put it in the same location as the D5 was within the linked model, and then obviously gave it the same view reference. So now this exists in this project on a sheet so we can actually use it for a call out. So if I were to come back over here and I would just say, okay, I want to do a call out. I want to obviously reference a view that we already have. I'm going to say D5. You can see this typical bulkhead APC both sides. I can pull that detail down, and I don't know why. That doesn't have a call out head associated with it. That's kind of interesting. So we'll turn that on, and now you can see that that references D5 and A1407. So that A1407 sheet gets printed obviously from the other model because that's where it resides, whatever your kind of your master model is. But now you've linked this detail back to that location with a true call out, and it is an actual view that's on an actual sheet. It just doesn't have any information in it. And obviously this view is it's very obvious to tell that there's no information here to be edited. So we're not expecting anybody to actually do any edits within this project for that view. So that's all good. That's how we link them. That's how we pick which ones we want. If we go back into this, I'll pick this model again. What you'll notice is that I pick the title block, pick the model, pick what I want to have here, and say I now want to have this soffit edge detail, and I want to have this just typical bulkhead detail. See, those both also are on A1407, but they're different details. So now that I have those selected within this grouping, go ahead and hit OK, and you'll see that it uses the 1407 that now is already in the project and applies those two other views to it that we could now use for reference. So that's how we can get them to come in. We can add additional details onto these sheets as time goes by. It's not, we don't have to recreate things every time. So that's the process of getting them in. Now let's say that somebody were to go through and rearrange views or rearrange a sheet or renumber a sheet or rename a sheet or any number of things in the master model, which would have moved these things around. Or let's say somebody for some reason came in here and started moving these things around and thought they were going to use the rename or the renumber tool to put them somewhere other than where they were supposed to be, that wasn't the right place. Hold on a second. Sorry, I didn't grab the whole view apparently. If we move these around and somebody thought they needed to move these to a different location for some reason, then what we will find that if we move these around, we say we renumber them to get them to be kind of in the spot they're supposed to be. So now obviously our call out will have changed. It's now E1. It's no longer the D5 that it's supposed to be. If you come back up here to this link drop downs again and go to update links, then what this will do is it in every one of these views that we imported, it tracks via some parameter information over here. It knows what model it came from and it knows what view it's derived from. So if I hit update links, either A, if the things have been changed in the master model, or if somebody has changed them in this model to be something other than what they are in the master model, then when you hit update links, you'll see these move back to where they're supposed to be and they go back to the right reference or the right detail number. So now obviously if we go back over here to the section, we're back to D5 and things are as they're supposed to be. If these views get removed from a sheet in the master model, somebody deletes them off of a sheet, or worse yet, deletes them from the project, when you hit that update links, it will not delete it from the project, but it will remove it from the sheet. So it wants to keep, um, it wants to keep connected to that master model. So anything that basically happens in that master model in terms of the viewport being on a sheet, whether it be number or name or whatever, it updates those things and keeps them connected no matter where they go. And even if, say, somebody had deleted this off of 1407 and put it on 1405, then it will understand that this thing moved. It will create a 1405 and it will place that viewport on 1405 the same way it did 1407. So it will take these office sheets, move them around, create new sheets. It'll do whatever it needs to do to make sure this view or these views that you've imported stay where they're supposed to stay relative to the master model, as long as those views do not get deleted, fully deleted from the master model. It will keep track of where they need to go. So that's a really easy way to use views from a master model, that if you have a complex project and want to be able to share details from a set of common sheets or core sheets without replicating those details in multiple models or doing other manual processes. So that's what we had today for the quick tips. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know. And if not, then happy linking, and I hope you all have a good day. Thanks.